one thing about these kids that were killed in cars that people I don't think are probably talking about is they're breaking the law. You're not allowed to up on a bike, number one. If you're on an electric bike and it doesn't meet with certain criteria, it's then classed as a motorbike, which means you have to be insured, taxed, and have a license to ride it. You also cannot carry passengers if you're on a provisional, and you're meant to wear helmets. So, yet again, more laws being broken. So, the police paying a particular interest in them. When I was a kid, I got nicked for carrying a passenger on my bike on the pavement with no lights. It is against the law, and people need to bear that in mind. You know, they need to remind themselves that a law is being broken here. Now, I fucking hate the police, all right? But those are the laws of the land and have been for years and years. Now, as kids, we didn't try and terrorise the local neighbourhood. And I'm not saying these kids were either, right? So don't say that I am. But many kids these days can be right pains in the ass. They don't have any respect for anything around them. Some kids. Not saying these, just saying some. And will ride wherever, whenever, and however they like. In the wrong direction. Now, some of these kids, right, off rough estates, will actually try and goad the police into giving them a chase. Some. Maybe not these kids, alright? Bear in mind. But the police, unless they stop these kids and know exactly what the deal is, because bearing in mind they're already breaking the law too up, right? So they'll assume if they're doing that, they might be doing other things. Now, it's a fucking tragedy these kids got killed, but it is one of those things that all of us are lucky to have got to this stage in our life. Especially if you were anything like us as young'uns. We were out on our bikes, we didn't have helmets or any of that rubbish, and we would be going as fast as we could. Sometimes we go down hills at nearly 40 miles an hour, right? We'll wobble on and whatever. And we cover our mileage as kids because that's just what we did. However, were the police right to chase two kids who were breaking the law? Well, that's not my decision to make, is it? I'm not a copper. Now, I don't like the police, and I wouldn't want to be a copper either. You're being politically motivated and driven by the top, told to ignore certain criminality. Go on, mate, make an effort. There you go. And it is what it is. But the other thing is, the police apparently treated the parents badly, according to an eyewitness, and treated the crowd badly. Now, I get the idea that everybody was angry at the police, but I don't understand setting fire to cars belonging to innocent people. I don't get that, alright? Rioting. When you look at riots of the past, Cardiff, where was the other one? One in London. There's been a few in London. They've done them in Bristol. They end up rioting within their area and destroying their own area. I never did get that. The same in Northern Ireland. You know, your enemy is this group, but then you destroy the area around you to get at them. Never did get it. But, you know, I'm going to get a lot of shit for this, but fuck it. At least we said for what it is. Ely's a rough area of Cardiff. It's a fact. And I don't know how much trouble comes from Ely and how much of a problem area that is for the police. But if it's a problem area, you're going to get usually more police there. And the police are going to look at people and assume, because they're human beings, only just, and they'll make a judgment, right or wrong. But what do you do if you're a policeman and you see a crime being committed by, which is a passenger on the bike, right? And assuming that bike, as I say, doesn't meet the criteria, it's a motorbike then, being joyridden, okay, by two youths with no helmets, probably not a very good skill set to ride that thing. What would you do if you were the police? Would you try and stop them so that they don't get killed? Or would you just leave them to run around and possibly run over some old person or run into a car anyway, or get themselves killed just because, well, well, that's what happened, isn't it? So, I hate to play devil's advocate because I really don't like the police, but nobody's talking about this part, and I think they should. We don't need many reasons to hate on the fucking police these days. They gave us plenty, and they give us, on the daily, plenty to hate them. But the laws of the land, a lot of them have been here for a long time. And one of them was very obvious. If you got on a motorbike in the old days, right, say for instance a 50 or a 125 or a scooter or whatever it was, and you two up without a helmet, the police are going to nick you, or they're going to try and nick you, right? If you're on a push bike riding down the road, two up, they're going to try and nick you. That's the way it is. So people go, oh, the police shouldn't be chasing them. Well, if they're breaking the fucking law, yes, they should. Simple. There have been a lot of these kids in the past that were joyriding, they got chased by the police, and they blame the police. Oh, couldn't you just let them go? No, they're breaking the fucking law. They're a menace to society, right? Joyriders were always a menace to society, but joyriders usually stole somebody else's vehicle. And I'm not suggesting for a second that these kids stole the bike, I think it was theirs. But either way. And then you've got to look at who got them that bike. Did it meet with certain standards or not? These are the details we haven't got yet, so we can't say for definite. But people give me shit. The one thing I want to do is always give an equal and balanced thought on stuff. And just going, oh, those poor kids, they were chased by the mean police and they died. No, it's a fucking tragedy that the kids were killed, alright? But when you break the law and police get interested, I've been chased by the police, alright? Sometimes I got caught, sometimes I got away. And that was in a car. And I did stupid things to try and get away, which could have killed somebody else or myself. Alright? Not very bright, but I was young at the time and I thought I was fucking immortal. And at 16 or 15 or 14, I thought I was immortal. That's what kids are. And sometimes you do need the police to pull you up and then get your details, grass you up to your parents. Now, when I got grassed up to my parents, I was in a lot of shit. And that was just for riding a bike with no lights on the paint on your mate on the thing on the back. If I'd have got caught doing that, it would have been probably worse. But there it is. Now, you're not going to like this very much, but that's just the way I feel. I wish those kids had never died. I wish there was no incident. And I wish he hadn't gone through a riot. But it did. Now, I don't know how the police Ely. I have no idea. If it's like the way they police everything else, probably not very good. But there is also a thing of accountability. When I used to get nicked, and when I eventually went to prison, I knew I fucking deserved it. There's a lot of people out there nowadays that think they're either above the law or the law doesn't apply to them. And that when the law actually comes after them, that they're the fucking victim. No, you're not. Right? There are a lot of laws out there nowadays that are absolutely ridiculous. But if you're doing stuff that could kill somebody else or yourself, there's usually a law against it. Just say it. When I was in prison, there was a lot of young kids there that thought it was so unfair they were in prison. I was like, what are you in for? Burglary. What are you in for? Selling drugs. What are you in for? Shoplifting. They just didn't get it. There's a lot of kids that are brought up, who grew up to be adults, that just don't get the fact that why they can't just go out and do whatever they want to do. And there's a lot of good people from council estates, a lot of hard-working people, a lot of legal people, but you also get a concentration in some areas of people that aren't like that, and that do whatever they want whenever they want and fuck everybody else. We used to have people in Weston that were families that were notorious. They were always doing something wrong. And well, no, I'm not suggesting these two boys are like that at all, but I'm just digressing a bit. Apparently, according to one of the locals who was interviewed, one of them was quite a lively, happy and bubbly boy. So as I say, it's a shame. But the police going into a place will view that place as more of a trouble hotspot and tackle it differently, because that's human nature, rightly or wrongly. Now, I would imagine I'll get a lot of shit in the comments, but if you are breaking the law, should you not be stopped? Put it another way, imagine that bike was stolen, right? The police don't know that, do they? Imagine that you saved up money to buy, I don't know, whoever it is, a bike, and it gets stolen. Wouldn't you want the police to check and see if a bike that's been ridden really dodgy was stolen? And a bike in a certain area, that's the way they're going to look at it. But I'm not playing devil's advocate, I'm just saying it as it is. And people don't like it. Tough. Anyway, there it is. I'll crack on, I'll see you in a bit.